Tell me about your vampires, Anons. Are they alive but sick or undead? What do other undead think about them? Are all vampires evil or good or not?
I don't know. I think my only criteria for vampires is I do believe they should be beautiful to some extent.
Yeah.
I do think beauty is part of their whole aesthetic almost. I don't know how else to describe it, but I have
it's like enticing nature.
Yeah. I think that they need to have that charm to them almost to get what they want.
Well, is it not a thing that a vampire can't enter your home unless they're invited?
Yeah,
so I think it's the whole...
They need to be...
The charm.
Yeah, the allure of them. But I do want them to also have, whenever they transform, they need to be demonically evil.
Yeah.
I think it should be like a yin and yang almost. Yeah. Like, that's the only criteria I've really got.
Oh, so Spike and Buffy?
Yeah, okay. I'm not even joking. I really was convinced that Spike was Sting.
Oh, I could see why.
I thought they were the same guy.
I could see why.
Because it was around that time I first watched the first Jude movie.
Yeah.
And that's who I knew Sting from. Because I remember someone saying, "Oh yeah, he does music, so he does." You know? It's like, oh right, okay. And then like, come on here, Sting and fucking.
They do look very similar though.
Sting and Spike. Similar. Come on, guys, listen to the names.
Are they alive but sick or undead? An individual afflicted by a vampire, otherwise compelled or tempted to drink the blood or eat the flesh of a vampire, will suffer from a sort of wasting illness, which will consume their vitality until they slip into a comatose state. Most awaken again as a ghoul. Neither ghouls nor vampires are truly dead, but most of the normal functions of their life are suspended, especially if they don't drink blood for a prolonged period of time.
It sounded a bit like AIDS, if I'll be honest with you, at the start there. Or is... no, vampires are way older than AIDS. What is going on? It's weird, look, you know.
What do other undead think about them? Nothing really. A true undead, any reanimated corpse or shade, is without true mind and cannot think about anything. At best, they can parrot some of what they were like in life. Are vampires particularly aligned? The older they get, the more alienated from humanity they tend to be. A pseudo-vampire, a newly born vampire who hasn't yet fed, is compelled to drink blood or eat live flesh about as strongly as a meth head is compelled to do meth, and thus they tend to behave in desperate and irrational manners, but aren't strictly evil. The powers of a vampire tend to lend themselves to abuse though. So many of them are at best immoral.
I don't know, I feel like definitely the older something is, because you used to be something, but then how can you even relate
to anything?
Like, you know, there was a really good one I heard a while back, and like, I know this isn't from the best person to ever bring quotes from, but I think it's actually still a really fascinating quote, and I think of it a lot, and it leads a lot to history, I find, is Bill Cosby. Look, Megan, look, wait till you see where I'm going here before you Megan, look, this is actually a really interesting quote. Shut the fuck up for a minute, alright? Like, anyway, so with Bill Cosby, he was born very poor. One of the, extreme poverty he was born into. And he got himself, when he got older, he got himself a bit of money. His kids did not grow up in poverty per se, but they still were not rich by any means. But his grandkids were, for all intents and purposes, rich kids. And he said he had an extremely difficult time being able to communicate with them because they've got such a different worldview than what he has. Yeah. I know it's not from the best person in the world, but I still think it's a really fascinating quote, and I think that relates quite a bit to vampires in a weird sense, because they're born from a different time period to different worldviews and all that, and then also on top of that their monster side.
Yeah.
So
Bill Cosby?
Yeah, Bill Cosby and all that. So who's going to make the Bill Cosby vampire? I didn't expect this, but look guys, let's just keep going, alright?
My setting's vampires are a race humanoid descendant from ancient hominids that were wiped out by Homo sapiens. Eventually, they adapted to hunt and kill humans. They live in underground tunnels and cave systems, mostly because their eyes are super sensitive to sunlight. There is a cult of humans that worship vampires as gods and make human sacrifices to their gods.
I really enjoy that. Yeah. I love that type of shit.
Kind of reminds me of like Wendigos and shit.
It does, it gives me Wendigo vibes, but what I would like to add on to that is maybe the relationship with humans and dogs.
Yeah.
And you could really, bring that across to, like, human evolution with wolves to dogs.
Yeah.
Hunting these vampires in the dark. I think you could do an awful lot with them.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. I think you could really make it, like, into, like, the whole werewolves v vampires, and make it into, like, a ancient war that's been going on for millennia, and maybe no one even knows that the war even still exists at this point. Yeah.
I went with vampires being technically undead, but not in the same sense as something like a zombie or a lich. A lich is the soul of a dead wizard using necromancy to puppet their own dead body, whereas vampires are using magic to unnaturally extend their life. The first vampire was the result of a botched up attempt to gain immortality. A vampire's body wouldn't age or decay, and they still can eat, feel, have sex, and do other things mortals can. But they must feed on life force of others through drinking blood. Animal blood won't do. It must be the blood of sapient races for the magic to work. If they don't, their bodies start to twist and decay, and eventually they would crumble to dust. Because their bodies are still infused by unholy magic, vampires are still weak to the things undead are, like holy weapons and spells, and the magic animating them also makes them weak to sunlight, though the effect varies depending on the state of the vampire. A recently fed vampire can walk around in daylight, but it's uncomfortable and they can't use their powers, while one that hasn't fed in months will burst into flames when exposed to sunlight.
I like that. I always hated the whole...
It's a good definition of how the feeding works for them.
Yeah, I always feel like, especially with vampires, like, the bursting into flames is such a bullshit weakness.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like, unironically, it's in the same bracket or category as me as the Wicked Witch of the West with a bucket of water.
Yeah.
What's she gonna do if she's fucking flying about on a broomstick and it starts pissing down out of the heavens, or lo and behold she flies through a cloud?
Because she'd be fucked if she lived in Northern Ireland.
yeah, you get fucked up big time. But no, I like that. I think that explains an awful lot, and it helps to differentiate between the undead.
Yeah. My vampires are cursed by the god of life and fitness, out of a fit of rage when his waifu, the goddess of the sun, rejected his advances. He cursed her priests and priestesses to wither in the sunlight and be forced to feed on the very people they swore to protect and serve before he ate the goddess of the sun. He put her heart in the sky, but shrouded the lands around her temple in eternal fog so as to dim her blessing. The god of life was nothing if not vengeful. Vampirism is a literal curse, but the curse is mostly symbolic. The vampires are eternal creatures, and he wanted them to suffer from their condition for eternity. They can pass on the curse to others, but it's done via ritual and not through biting. They both drink blood and eat flesh. Their long lives and their once respected positions have turned them into an undying oligarchy. New vampires are strictly controlled because the old ones don't want competition for power or food. And they are vain, wrathful, and sadistic creatures, twisted as much by the curse as by the rigours of time on minds not meant to handle it. The slow march of time in their territory has resulted in their antiquated ideas holding back a national idea striving for industrial growth. They still use swords and bows, despite the proliferation of machine guns. They don't permit air transport because flying was once considered a sacred privilege of the most holy, and they don't like seeing the commoners using it. They frown upon the use of electricity because it denies them the comfort of the darkness where they don't have to face the evil they've become. Despite this, they're not disliked by the common person. They are seen as true sons and daughters, the original familia. And so even in an age of rising nationalism, these relics of the past find new power and presence on the world stage as symbols of freedom from their overlords and tradition.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
I really like that. That's actually genuinely really well thought out.
Yeah.
I like that. And I like the way it goes from, like, that mythical age to modern day, essentially. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I always wondered, like, for me, I always thought, like, for vampires to exist, they have to exist in the shadow.
Yeah.
In modern age, I just can't imagine humans being okay.
Okay, with
I would imagine it would kind of be like, in Europe, we killed all the wolves and the bears a long, long time ago, and they only really exist in, like, Russia now. They've
been pushed back.
They've been pushed back and back and back. I could not imagine that they would still exist.
Yeah.
They would have all just been killed out a long time ago unless they lived in the shadow.
Yeah.
And now, the models of our website. Brought to you by neckbeardia.co.uk. Get y'all some of these titties.
Dwarf titties, orc titties, cat titties, fat titties, the gases and wasted bit. Vampires and goblins and all the buff champions and even hentai, yeah that too. Dragons, manticores, ogres and gnomes and bugbears and even more to go still. Undead and demons and then our friend Pally and definitely not 40k. Wood elves, dark elves and lizards and Megan the Slither and James the look cool as he stands. Beholders and kobolds and tyrants and only in a donkey with a frying pan. If you don't want no models, then no need to bother. We now have subclasses and teas. Also, Guardbros Book, go have a look. Check out the link to Ko-fi. Thank you for watching our videos and giving our channel a hand. But this is the end, our viewers and friends, so let's get back to the video, man. I fucking hate myself. There are two magical disciplines related to the manipulation of the human body. Necromancy and Sanguinism. Both are old and noble disciplines. Yet with their age comes the scars of abuse. For necromancers, who regenerate and strengthen the flesh, the image of insane sorcerers leading armies of the animated dead is an embarrassing memory of the not too distant past. For sanguinists, whose focus is the blood and energies of life, their dark gift to the world came in the form of witches looking for a shortcut to eternity that went horribly awry. Despite the rumours, vampires are not dead, nor are they born from death. They are very much alive, though not quite in flesh. What appears to be a human being is actually a once human creature of blood made glass, able to appear as solid as you or I, or disappear into a fine red mist that wraps around your body as it solidifies around your throat. They can flush themselves, appearing warm and lively, or cold and pale. They can alter their appearances to seem ethereally beautiful, or gaunt and monstrous. They can move at terrifying speeds and even fly. They are both sustained and created by the bite, either draining you of that energy which powers it, or infecting you with its curse, forcing you to undergo days of agony as your flesh literally liquefies. Whether the rumour that this process makes you conditionally immortal is unclear. There has been no clear study or tests on the lifespan of the vampire, but it is certainly true that they can live for hundreds, even thousands of years, should they not fall to vengeful mobs or to the nihilism of age. The weakness of a vampire are also exaggerated. They could care less about stakes and sunlight, whilst it can be hazardous to them. It's not an automatic death sentence in the slightest. They are, however, sensitive to salt. Fire can put the fear of God in them, and strong fermented alcohol, like vinegar, can have a similar effect, burning them.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not bad, not bad. That's what I feel like with all these.
Everything I'm reading, I'm like,
You know,
yeah.
you know what?
Good.
I feel like I'm
Gold
down with
star?
that. I feel like I'm down with this. You know, but I do have look. You guys know I'm a bit of an edgy boy, and I do enjoy my vampires.
Yeah, I think vampires were so overdone. Same as zombies.
Yeah,
they're so overdone for so long that I like to hear what
new takes
on the whole
genre
thing
in general. You know, and you can mix it up in so many different ways, shapes, or forms. I really enjoy this version where they, instead of like turn into like a bat or some shit, they turn into like a misty blood form. I think that's pretty cool.
I want to know why fly is in quotation marks.
Maybe is it not very well known about? Maybe is it something that's like, maybe it's rumored about? One of the ones I quite liked in this is like, you know, maybe, and I always like the idea of making like, see people that fall victim to vampires, make them out to be like heroin addicts, and like, you know, it's like they're going from like a really bad, their come down or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's,
well, I don't know if any of you's watched. Well, we watched what was it called? Midnight Mass.
Oh yeah, that was quite good actually. Yeah.
Midnight Mass. It was a Netflix original, and it was about the Damascus vampires and stuff. Yeah. But whenever they like bit someone, they died and then came back to life. But they could see it. They could see like the veins glowing in people's necks, and they acted like pure crackheads.
Yeah, it was pure crack energy, like
to get their first feed. And I think I love that aspect of it. I think that
it's almost like they still have their humanity, but they've got
the light and all they see.
But it's like it's like extreme drugs.
Yeah. To
the nervous system, and
they can
just
see the galaxies as well. Yeah. They can see the stars and I think because
the heightened
they're
senses.
So old.
Yeah.
As well, because they've now got old blood or whatever in them. I don't know, but
honestly, it was good, guys, for Netflix. I thought it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Next post, will we?
My vampires are a bit strange, since rather than being based on something directly necromancy or blood related, they're based on dream magic.
Bloody quicker, here we go.
The whole drinking blood thing is ultimately because the nightmares bound to the first batch all had something to do with predation, which was very much a design choice by vampirism creators. This is also related why vampires link to the night and all these weird weaknesses. The common ones were generally designed as a control mechanism. The line-specific ones are due to something thematic to that source nightmare, and from there, it's dream logic in play. Ages back, some dickhead wanted to be immortal and had figured out a series of rituals using dream magic to do that. But if anything went wrong at all, it would just outright kill him. The answer? Get some schmucks to beta test it for. Obviously, he kept it on the down low, and most of his willing subjects died horrible deaths, since he didn't tell them the risks. Eventually, though, successes started to happen, although still at less than favourable ratio. The first vampires were born, although he still hid his mortality and all the failures from them, since even if you have weaknesses in place to help you deal with them, it'd still be a bad idea to square up against a group of beta versions of your own immortality. The time was coming. He was just about ready to complete a final version of vampirism to give to himself, without all the weaknesses, and that's when a few of them kicked down the door. It wasn't even that they found out about the mountain of corpses that they could have been a part of. Some of them just found out that if you feed a lot beyond what you just need, you get stronger. And if you feed on strong things, you get stronger, faster. And they were being greedy fucks, and thought they could take the first vampire on in an ambush easily. Too bad they were followed by their loyalists have found out just a bit late. They arrive in the scene to see a bunch of vampires with mouths stained with blood standing over the cooling corpse of the person that gifted them all mortality, who also appear to be very confused about something. But the time for talking is gone, and they attempted to take revenge. Some died on both sides. Much of the creators' research was destroyed in the scuffle, and the survivors split off, many taking whatever fragments of research that they could salvage with them. Some among them figured out variants of the ritual, much easier to perform ones given they already had a fully functional and set up nightmare inside of them. So they just had to transplant a tiny portion of it into a potential host. Funnily enough, with a near perfect success rate, after a few years of experimentation for most of them, this was the birth of the first vampire lines, with general abilities being passed down, although the specifics differ from some of the most powerful vampires, since getting them that strong wasn't in the original specs, as it were, making things go a bit weird when they reach that point. They live in the shadows for a very long time. Some alliances form over time between lines, splinter groups going off to form their own political entities, with members from several lines, leading to the first proper vampire houses. Still, having some from a loyalist or rebel line under the same banner is rare. They mostly keep their alliances to their own faction. This shit is immediately put on the back burner when the Moon Goddess and the Sun Goddess are getting in a fight, giving Moon Lady wants eternal night. Many, including most all vampires, back her hard, casting aside the veil, but she ultimately loses. As a result, the vampires and her other backers mostly flee to the frozen north, beyond where civilization extended at the time, and built a society there.
You know, I do feel like I'm just saying the same thing again and again. Not bad, guys.
Not bad.
Really
10 out of 10.
interesting. 10 out of 10. I enjoyed
Very
these.
good.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, it was actually good. It was a genuine fun read.
Yeah.
And I don't even feel bad. And I know a lot of you guys probably aren't going to be interested in it.
And I'm not reading about fucking that, guys.
Yeah.
Get me angry for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. We recorded one earlier and it was like, man, this shit's just depressing at this point. I just want to enjoy some like good old I just want to enjoy.
I just like lore.
I like lore. I want a bit of world building.
Yeah.
Can we do something a bit well, this isn't cheery, exactly.
But like give me something to read and be like, yeah.
You know what? Actually, that's a really cool concept. I'm actually into that shit. No, across the board, I thought these were actually all really interesting, really good takes, and I really like the mythological like birth of vampires, how they came to be. But I love that shit with any of them. I think my favorite one definitely is the offshoot of humans, though.
Yes,
and making them more like a Wendigo sort of creature. I think that's really cool.
But let us know down below about vampires in your setting.
Yeah, how do you
Have
use
they
them?
a backstory? Have they a beginning?
And don't just tell us about fucking Strahd.
Yes.
I can already sense,
Please.
like, by the way, guys, my DM.
And also, if you do play vampires,
Oh yeah, like you're gonna
want our vampires.
You're gonna want our vampires because we got really beautiful models and really nice vampires. We've actually got a few different vampire models, so I'll just flash them up on screen. I think they look they look really cool. Look, girls got cleavage. Wow, guys with long hair. Look, they're all very beautiful. Wow, yeah, I think they look really cool. I love the guy in the bone armor. I think he looks really nice, and I love the big bat and all that shit.
Stunning, absolutely stunning.
Anyway, like I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I would love to do more stuff like this in the future. It's just anytime we do like any form of world building stuff or anything like that, we don't really get many views on it compared to like, and then I was jacking off onto the table. Just on her face. You know, so I don't know, it's nice to do something a bit different.
Let us know down below, and while you're down there, check out the links to the models and the subclasses. They help us out
to
so
no
much.
end. You've got no idea. It really
So
does.
much. And hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a video.
Also, send this video to your DM and tell them that, by the way, your vampires are dog shit. You should take
Please
some
do
inspiration
something, yes.
from these posts here.
Thank you.
Enjoy, guys.
Bye.